Organizations consists of a group of individuals who participate together in any facility to achieve goals. So, what is organizing? Why is it important? What are the basic principles of organizing? And how to develop an organizational structure? Organizing is a clear definition of all the different competencies and tasks of all the main and subsidiary activities in the organization, and the coordination of the various relations between them to serve the objectives of that organization. And here the so-called organizational structure arises. It also defines the relationships between them, as it determines who in the organization has authority over whom, and who in the organization is accountable to whom. Meaning that there are three main elements that found this organization, which are individuals, participation, and specific goals. Therefore, effective organizations are based on a set of principles as follows. Unity of goals. Meaning that the objectives are of great importance in determining the organizational structure of the organization. Unity of command. This principle means that each person in any of the organizations should have only one supervisor. Chain of command. The organization includes a functional hierarchy that shows the relationship between superiors and subordinates, in other words, lines of authority. Scope of supervision. It is not permissible for any leadership in any organization to occupy a number of departments that exceed the ability of this leadership. Rather, there must be a distribution of those departments and sections to all other divisions in the organization. In other words, no manager may entrust with the supervision to a large number of departments greater than his or her capabilities, and it means that it is not permissible to increase the main and subdivisions that are subject to the supervision of one head. Proportionate authority and responsibility. This principle means that any person should not be assigned a specific responsibility unless he or she is given sufficient authority that enables him or her to assume that responsibility. An executive or at any level within the administrative unit must specify the authorities that correspond to the same amount of responsibilities. Clarity in defining responsibilities. Meaning that the duties and responsibilities of each individual should be precise, clear, and understandable. Flexibility and simplicity. These two principles are about allowing modification according to the requirements of development in the activities of the organization, and that the organization must be simple and not complicated. Delegation of authority. This principle means that the manager entrusts some of his or her powers for the purpose of widening supervision to a number of assistants, which reduces work burden and increases the time for thinking and innovation. However, there are factors that influence delegation of authority, which are the seriousness of the decision and the extent of the cost of this decision and its impact on the facility. Therefore, authority should not be delegated if it is too costly or dangerous. The size of the organization. The larger the organization, the greater the need for delegation of authority. The extent to which the policy is unified. If the policy is unified, the authority is delegated. Decentralization. In the case of geographical expansion of the organization, the authority is delegated. The degree of growth of the facility, meaning that if the project grows fast, there is no delegation. However, if there is stability, then delegation is permissible. Availability of competent managers who are able to carry out the assigned activity. Then delegation is preferred. The existence of a sound control system that ensures the follow-up of performance. Then, delegation is permissible. Finally, environmental conditions surrounding the facility, any economic, political variables, social, technological factors, along with the issuance of new laws or regulations that affect the activity of the organization. It is not recommended in this case to delegate until the environmental conditions are stabilized. In addition to that, one of the core principles in organizing is the effective communication. This principle means the need for the organization to include a clear communication network to ensure the transfer and flow of all data and information across all sections of the organization. Specialization, meaning that every job within the organization should include a specific job description and carry out by specialized individuals who are qualified and at the highest level of efficiency and work experience. Coordination. Coordination is one of the basic elements for achieving integration in business and reducing the contradiction and duplication of work in the organization. Delegation of authority does not relieve responsibility. As a result of the expansion in the size of organizations or activities, it may be necessary to delegate some responsibilities to the lower administrative levels. And here it should be clear that this delegation does not relieve the delegate's responsibility, which is known as joint responsibility. Centralization and decentralization, mainly related to the principle of delegation of authority. Therefore, centralization is the concentration of power in the hands of the highest administrative level, while decentralization is distributing powers between the head and his or her assistant and delegating some of the powers to lower administrative levels. Here, it is necessary to reconcile absolute centralism and absolute decentralism. The organizational structure is the tangible outcome of putting the proposed principles into effect while forming and structuring the organization. The model organizational structure contains 4 managerial levels. The top managers are known as CEO, corporate, group head and vice president. Middle managers are department managers, product line manager, or business unit head such as general manager or administrator. The first line managers are the functional heads in the organizational structure, for example, production, sales, human resources management and accounting. At the bottom of the structure there are the non-managerial employees who are occupying the line and staff jobs. Nowadays organizational structures can take different forms, either a traditional vertical or horizontal hierarchy, or a work teams-based structure. Some organizations merge 2 or more types to form its own organizational structure that serves its activities along with effectiveness and efficiency. However, deciding the optimum organizational structure depends on 3 main factors, which are the concept of operations, the culture of the organization, and the level of empowerment, which serves the formation of effective work teams and enhances learning and continuous development. Still, each managerial level has its roles and responsibilities. The senior management represents the head of the organization and the senior managers who oversee the core sectors. Members of this organizational level are responsible for planning, drawing up policies, directing and controlling implementation, and making basic decisions to achieve the main goals. While the middle management represents the heads of departments who take executive decisions, and this level is concerned with the production, marketing, supply chain, human resources management and so on. It works in light of the plans approved by the senior management, who submit their reports on the progress of implementation or obstacles to them. At the bottom the organizational structure is the first line management. This level represents the lowest administrative level in the organization, such as direct supervisors, and entrusted with directly supervising the frontline employees who are executing the smallest manageable tasks. Sometimes organizations hire advisors for assessing performance or to assist the organization in development or growth. However, there is a difference between executive authority and advisory. Executive authority is the authority that flows from top to bottom and gives the right to make decisions. However, advisory is the authority to suggest, advise, or express an opinion to the higher authority, without the right to make decisions or orders. So, how to develop an effective organizational structure? Developing an organizational structure goes through 8 main steps, which start with defining main goals and objectives. Then identify the required operations to achieve those goals and objectives. After that, determine the required jobs along with a job description for each one. Then determine the minimum requirements in the human resources who will occupy these jobs. Then create administrative units containing connected jobs, which are known as departments or divisions. A crucial step is needed to be well established, which is identifying communication channels. Finally, determine the standard procedures of operations and means of reporting and communication. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe in our channel and follow us on all social media platforms. You can also visit skilltecs.com to learn more.